Hello, hello, hello. It's my second vlog of the month. It's Tuesday the 18th of May. How are you all? Well, it's been an interesting time. I've had a flurry of questions related to the UK, mainly based on recent events. And so I will just fire away. You're all asking more or less the same questions, but I've chosen three people who will be your representative. So first of all, there's Ryan Hennessy Saunders from the UK. There's Jennifer Thomas White from the USA, and there's Rowena Worley Brown, Australia. Now, I chose them because I think all us hyphens should stay together. Right, Ryan's question is, what are your views on the Scottish referendum and how could it affect both the Scottish and the English governments? Okay. Jennifer Thomas White from the USA, why is Prince Charles the Prince of Wales when he's not Welsh? Good question. And Rowena Worley Brown from Australia, will the Northern Ireland issue ever be resolved, and why do everyone hate the Welsh? Well, that's a damning question, isn't it? Not damning question indeed. Right, so first of all, what I have to point out, in my blood and DNA structure, I'm on my mother's side is very much a Celt. I have Irish, Scottish, and Welsh genes. And so that's my declaration, and I'm going to be trying to be as non-political and as non-judgmental as possible with what I have to say. Yes, it is true. There is this saying that everyone hates the Welsh, and it goes back a long, long way. And nobody really knows why. I think they keep on saying when you search, because there's no real reason to hate them. But what I can say, in the Anglo-Saxon era, which was a 600-year period around, I think, 600 years before 1066, because of course that's when William the Conqueror came along, the Anglo-Saxons had a welfare system for those who fought in battle. If they lost a limb, an eye, a finger, a toe, or whatever, then they were financially compensated. But if you were Welsh, you only got half the compensation. Now, that's clearly discrimination, and why? All I can think is the Welsh are Celts, and they are the original occupants of our island, and the Saxons, of course, are invaders coming over from Germany, Saxony, and I think the Gauls are involved as well. So I think that's discrimination. That's how that came about, and that's why we've got this phrase that everybody hates the Welsh. I don't know, but then around, I can't remember, but it was Edward the First. He had issue with the Welsh, and he fought many battles, and he, well, I won't say conquered, but he definitely overwhelmed the Welsh. But what he did as a way of appeasing the Welsh and some sort of trying to get some sort of unity, he created his son the first Prince of Wales, and thereafter the royal heir apparent male line becomes the Prince of Wales, and that explains why Prince Charles is the Prince of Wales today. Now, for many, many centuries, Wales was sort of smudged out of legislation. Wales was absorbed into England. So when they said a new English law, it actually meant Wales as well. When Queen Elizabeth I died, James VI of Scotland became England's James I, and there was no real official treaty of the father between the two countries, so things were sort of left up in the air for a while. James I was a Protestant, and James II was a Protestant, but then he converted to Catholicism, tried to run off to Ireland to be rescued, when the Protestants over here in England said they wouldn't have him as king. So that's how we have a divide there. So the issue of Scotland and Ireland then came to the fore, because Ireland was under the control of the British. Then comes Queen Anne, and the whole issue of Scotland, Ireland, it was sort of a sore in her side, and she tried to resolve it mainly because of economic reasons at the time, by creating the Acts of Union. And that would be a union between England, Ireland and Scotland. And to pacify the Scots, she did imply that there would be a democratic vote for them to be included. This first Scottish referendum in a way. But she stacked her cards, so what she did was she created a number of new peers, because she said the vote could only be taken between the peers of the realm. She created new peers, and so the Act of Union between Scotland and England and Ireland passed by only 6 votes. So you can understand why the Scots were a bit miffed then, let alone now. Oh dear. And then followed, after Anne, there was Queen Mary, and our Mary II, and she married a Dutch king, William of Orange, and they reigned as William of Orange jointly. William of Orange tried to impose Protestant values on Ireland, and had many a battle there. He didn't succeed fully, but he managed to develop a region in the northwest of Ireland, which subsequently became Northern Ireland, but that's what he managed to do, and that's why the Unionists of today are often referred to as Orange men, because they followed the loyalty to William. And of course, after Queen Mary died, William became William III. Since then, there have been all sorts of issues about independence for Ireland as well, but it was many years later, about 200 or 300 years later, 1921, it was agreed that there could be a partition, as if it were, and Northern Ireland was created. And then there followed the Irish Independence War, which resulted in some sort of Anglo-Irish treaty, and it was within the treaty it was agreed that the 6 counties of Northern Ireland would remain with the United Kingdom. Southern Ireland, so in 1921 it suddenly became Northern Ireland and Southern Ireland, and Ireland became ERA as we know it in 1949. And then since then, of course, there's been all sorts of issues of wanting a united Ireland. Oh dear. So it's understandable that Wales and Northern Ireland and Scotland want to have their own devolution and have control of their own affairs. After all, Westminster seems to mess it up also. And Wales in particular, they have their own heritage. They have their own language, which is spoken widely in the country. And their big issue, I think, can also be cemented by the fact that they're not represented on the Union Jack. Scotland is a very different country to England. It has its own separate judicial system, an educational system, and all sorts of other things. And there was a referendum in 2014, and it was thought at the time that there was a good chance that Scotland would get its independence. Westminster went boo-boo, and all former prime ministers who were still alive at the time, so Gordon Brown, Tony Blair, John Major, as well as David Cameron and others, rushed to Scotland with a plea to keep the Union, and they made all sorts of promises. And so, in the end, the referendum of 2014, the No camp won by quite a sizable majority. I think it was 55% to 44. But of course, Westminster didn't keep its promises. I'm not aware, and I'm happy for people to correct me, I'm not aware that any of the promises made in 2014 were ever kept. And then, of course, Brexit came along, which changed the playing field for Scotland totally, because those who voted no were under the opinion that Scotland would still be in Europe. And of course, in the Brexit campaign, Scotland voted 62% to remain. So you can understand why this independence thing has reared its head again, and and it's all because things are mishandled from the beginning. Oh dear. What else was there? Personally, I'd like all the nations to have their independent feel about them, but we should live and work together in peace and harmony. If there is a break-up, I feel that England would probably be hit worse. After all, we do rely on finances coming through Scotland in particular, and Wales, and Northern Ireland. But hopefully, some sensible statesmen, stateswomen, will step in and do the right thing. So the question is for Ryan was, what's my view on whether Scotland should have a referendum? Well, the answer is yes, I think they should. No nation, no country can tell another country how to deal with their democratic process. I mean, hopefully the union will stay, but if it doesn't, it doesn't, and we'll have to just deal with it. And the simple answer to that is if Westminster just stick to the promises that they've made in the past, let the Scottish people see the benefits of remaining in the union, then I think things will be a lot better. I hope that's answered your questions. I hope this vlog hasn't been too long. I'm trusting that I haven't trodden on any political toes. I've just tried to state the facts as I understand them, and I just hope that my history teacher, Mrs. Jones, is comfortable with what I'm saying. Well, until the next vlog, goodbye.